So this really starts to spur a whole touring cycle. Your manager, Bill, very, very,
Oh, yeah.
very, very experienced in knowing how to set up the strategic flight path for
Right.
what you're going to do. And in this process, you're also songwriting. And as seems to be the case with your writing, where you like blotting paper to your outside external stimuli, you wanted to write a song about a friend of yours, a somewhat autobiographical tale of a guy who was a crane driver.
Yeah, somewhat.
Not a train driver, a crane driver.
Right. So, you know, all of my songs, there's always a character, there's always a story that goes into it. I can't just make up a song. It really has to come from a real life experience. And one of my childhood friends, I had reconnected with him, and he had lost a finger. And it was very strange. And he became a crane inspector. He lost a finger on a construction site. And he became a crane inspector, and he inspects these big cranes on construction sites. And one thing he said to me that I thought was really profound, he said, you know, to build some of these big cranes, we actually need a crane. I said, so it takes a crane to build a crane? He said, yeah, something like that. And I immediately thought of, well, which came first, the chicken or the egg? And, you know, I was just befuddled. And that lived with me, that lived in my subconscious for many, many months. And it wasn't until I was kind of en route from one city to another, I landed in Brighton, England for a few days just to take some time off the road. And I'm walking down the street, and suddenly, it takes a crane to build a crane. Gung, gung. It just shows up in my head.
You're walking on the seafront in Brighton.
I'm walking on the seafront, yeah.
And it's the rhythm of your walking that stimulates you to...
Exactly. And then it takes two and like, again, it just shows up, much like the remedy. It just starts coming out, and I'm like, oh, God, I got to get to a hotel and write this down, you know? And I did. I kind of whistled and hummed and sang my song all the way back to the hotel, and then put the demo down. And the demo is great because you can actually hear the seagulls and the birds out there in Brighton.
That's like that famous Otis Redding song, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay,
Yeah.
where they actually recorded the lapping of the waves in Sausalito near San Francisco.
Yeah.
So did you keep... Oh, good.
Well, you don't hear them on the final recording, but on my demo I've got it. I'd love to release that someday.
So why don't you play the song?
Yeah,
Life
good
is
idea.
And this is called?
It's called Life is Wonderful.
Cool.
Yeah. And much like many of my songs, it's about it's an observation that, you know, it takes a bad situation to realize how good something is, or it takes, you know, a hole in the ground to realize the mountain, you know. So I love acknowledging both sides of the story, and it's because we have both sides that really, I think, make life wonderful. And again, I was playing this earlier today, and I couldn't help but make it a reggae. So anyway, it gives it a nice rhythm. It takes a crane to build a crane. It takes 2 floors to make a story. It takes an egg to make a hen. It takes a hen to make an egg. There is no end to what I'm saying. It takes a thought to make a word, and it takes some words to make an action, and it takes some work to make it work. It takes some good to make it hurt. It takes some bad for satisfaction. La 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 la, life is wonderful. La la la, life goes full circle. La la la, life is wonderful. La la. La da 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 da. La da 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 la da da da. It takes a night to make it dawn, and it takes a day to make you yawn, brother. And it takes some old to make you young. It takes some cold to know the sun It takes the one to have the other, and it takes no time to fall in love, but it takes you years to know what love is. And it takes some fear before I trust, and it takes some tears to make it rust, but it takes the rust to have it polished. Oh, 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 la 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 la, life is wonderful. La 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 la, life goes full circle. La 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 la, life is wonderful. La 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 la, da 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 la. It takes some silence to make sound, and it takes a loss before you found it, and it takes a road to go nowhere, and it takes a toe to show you care. It takes a hole to see the mountain. La 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 la, life is wonderful. La 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 la, life goes full circle. La la la, life is wonderful. La 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 la, life is so full of la 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 la, love is wonderful. La 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 la, life is meaningful. Love, sing it, la 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 la. Something like that. Thank you. You know, I'll have to tell you, I rarely perform a song the same way twice. I don't know, I want to, every day's new, you know, I'm 32 and how many months, but I've never been 32 in this many months in this extra day.
In Hong Kong.
In Hong Kong, you know, I've never performed this song in Hong Kong, so.